Hello and welcome back. It's not just gloomy, it's actually starting to light is beginning to fade. And I'm going to head up to Dartmoor to do a wild camp. Quite simply, I've got a few bits of kit that I'm trying to integrate into my normal system to allow me to do the West Highland Way. So basically, it's a little bit of a trial. The only thing that I won't have is my full 10 days worth of food. I'm only going to go with what I need tonight and tomorrow morning. So, yeah, it's going to be a strange one really, because I usually like to get into location before we lose light, just to allow me to soak in the atmosphere and feel it. More than likely, it's going to be pitch black when I'm setting up. So tomorrow morning will be a really important time for me to basically enjoy my surroundings. Test a few bits of kit out, and then I'll have to think about packing up to get back here because I do have commitments at home. It's not a waste of my time and not a rush, because quite simply, like I said, I'm testing kit, and that's more valuable to me than, you know, good cinema quality filming. But I will endeavour to try and bring you along to experience some of it with me. And yeah, I'm still in the middle of frantically stuffing my Bergen with stuff and trying not to forget nothing. So I'm going to carry on, and the next time you see me will probably be in the car park out in Dartmoor. Catch you in a moment. If you're new to the outdoor scene, it is always advisable to test your kit before you actually get outdoors and need to use it for real. I'm setting up in the dark, just using a basic torch. There is not hundreds of lights, and I don't have any other means, no moonlight, to get my tent up. That is where practice becomes key. I'm actually using 6-inch nails here to peg the tent down and do all my securing of everything I need. That is advice based on the fact that somebody's done it before, and they said the ground could be so frozen in Scotland, ordinary tent pegs just become ineffective. It's tips like these that can be the difference between success and failure in the outdoors environment. First thing, I've got my tarp up. I've got myself a shelter. No matter what weather is thrown at me now, I have somewhere to get out of the elements. From here on in, I'm now going into the nighttime routine, and I'm getting my stove together, and I'm going to get some food on the go. I haven't eaten, and I'm beginning to feel like I want to actually have something to eat. I could literally just kick back and let things happen at their own pace. But before any bad weather comes in, either it be wind or rain, and there could be other things I have to do, I am now going to start with my basic admin, and that's looking after myself. So I'm going to get some food to warm myself up and fill myself up, and I'm going to get a nice hot drink. So I'm fully fueled up for the evening and what's to come. Personal admin and being able to administer yourself in the outdoors is crucial. At this stage here, you would be getting out of wet kit if you were wet. You would be getting your warm kit on, and you would be getting all your feet and boots dried. Your feet would be powdered. You would be looking after yourself and getting yourself basically in another good state or condition to go forward tomorrow. Just kicking back and allowing things just to happen at their own pace is fine in certain circumstances, but if you're in a wet, cold environment, your personal admin has to be on top of its game. Things can get go wrong very quickly, even to the point of being dangerous. I'm actually using MRE style meals, ready cooked wet food. This here is fantastic to stop you creating too much mess in and around your camp, and by doing that also it does cut down the chances of D&V and causing yourself an illness. It's easier to administrate a cleanlier routine around camp using these types of food. I am using a basic setup here. I've got the mess tins with my MRE inside of it. That's going to give me food and hot water for a drink. My flat boiling vessel is also turns into the stand for my stove, so it's not on the ground causing a fire risk. And I'm cooking just outside of the actual tarp tent to minimise fire risk, but also give it protection from the wind, trying to make it more efficient with the burn. This is the time I can actually, while it's cooking, enjoy my surroundings. I'm looking down into the village, looking at the clouds and the weather conditions, and I can see lights from villages all the way around. Now, most of my kit is dual purpose, and when I'm actually able to, I will use those mess tins with my lower boiling vessel to create a windbreak if I'm looking just for a hot brew. So everything that I have on me in a greater respect can be used as a dual purpose item. I'm actually timing out the gel. I've put too much gel in there. This is a learning curve, and this is why I'm out practicing before I need to do this in a real-time situation. Now, because I've got my shelter up and I haven't thought about doing anything else like just getting a brew or food on the go, I can sit now with the secure knowledge that I'm dry, I'm out of the wind, my shelter's been aimed into the wind. Even if that wind decides to swing around, I do have 3 quadrants that I'm protected from the wind. It would have to do a complete 180 to come and face into me now. So it's all these things that you have to appreciate for a successful time in the outdoors. It does become natural after a while, but if you're learning, it is advisable to go out with somebody who knows what they're doing firsthand. As you can see, I'm able to have a nice, relaxed, chilled out time, quite simply because I've put the work in to get camp set up and make it happen. This time of year, Dartmoor is cold, wet and windy, and it's really exposed. So you really need to be comfortable in your setup. Plus, it's really long nights in the northern hemisphere, and you do not want to be standing around outside chatting away in those weather conditions. Early morning is always beautiful because you know you can get up and start making a move. That bit of tape on my guideline is there not just to stop me tripping over. It is actually a wind indicator to give me an idea how strong and what direction the wind is coming from before I start planning my, what I'm going to do next. When it comes to your sleep system, it should be the actual last thing that comes out of your Bergen and first thing that goes away. It should be treated as sacred. You do not want to get it wet, dirty or exposed to the environment. Not only is it your sleep system to make you comfortable and keep you warm, with a bivvy added to it, it is almost a secondary safety item and an emergency shelter with that bivvy. If you lose your shelter, your bivvy can act as an emergency shelter. So the sleep system is paramount to keeping safe, secure and dry as best you can. And talking about my sleep system, it is basically the Arctic setup from the British Army, and I've actually been donated this by a very kind gentleman that's given it to me. And yeah, you know who you are, and I'm very grateful. So I'm trialing this. I did have my old system, which I used in the snow and was adequate. But I did find that full Arctic setup, the proper setup, was way surpasses what I ever would need today on Dartmoor, and I'm really chuffed with it. So because it's dry, I'm able to continue just sorting my Bergen outside. You do need to be able to do that in cramped conditions inside your shelter, because you do not want your Bergen left exposed like that if it rains. I do have the luxury of being able to sort it out outdoors here, and I'm taking advantage of it, but it's brutally cold. This morning it is that cold, your hands are going red. And it wasn't just me, Dave was the same also. We both said that, you know, considering that the weather was supposed to be reasonable conditions, it was brutally cold. It was chilling you to the bone, in fact. And I had warm kit on, I had my smock hood up, and I had a hat underneath that. I had gloves at the ready. In fact, you could argue you should be getting prepared to be able to do all this with gloves on. I'm getting my waterproofs prepped and ready to go back in on top my Bergen. They're accessible as one of the first things I can grab if needed. They're not, everything that I have is in separate dry bags there, except my waterproofs. They sit just in on top the lid and I can grab them at a moment's notice. That is an extremely efficient way to stay dry. You do not want to be opening up, too deep into your Bergen to retrieve any items or warm kit or wet weather kit if the weather should become inclement and catch you out. Even though it's dry, there are dark clouds, so I'm closing the top lid and hatch just in case it does start to spit or it just stops. I'm being prepared. I'm getting a routine together. Dave is doing the same in the background. He's sorting his kit out. Each individual has to be able to look after themselves. You do the buddy system where you're watching over your mate in conditions and places like this to make sure they're all right. Make sure they're not feeling under the weather, feeling the effects of cold, wet, damp, and basically they're okay. But you have to be able to, basically cope yourself. And this is what it's all about, why you come to places like this. The peace, the quiet, the tranquility, the wide open spaces, and a little bit of it, being able to challenge yourself, being able to live and operate in these conditions. It's totally magical and beautiful. Dave's there just getting his kit together. But what a stunning location to wake up to in a sunrise. Now, as I've said, my Bergen is put away. I've got my sleep system safe. I've got my dry, warm kit safe inside the Bergen, and it's ready to go. I've got my shelter up quite simply because I want to have somewhere I can get out of this wind and the brutal wind chill factor and have a brew and my porridge, safe in the knowledge that I can get out of the elements. That will be the last thing that gets broken down and put inside my Bergen. I do have a roll mat and a ground sheet so I can get off the damp cold floor as well. But in effect, my Bergen's got all the items that need to be kept dry, safe and secure. That yellow bit of cordage on that bottle is part of my safe drinking water system, and that allows me to know in the dark, by just having that around the hand cap, that is safe water to drink. It's not just pure raw water. It's basically good to go. Now, that lighter is failing on me. And this is a classic example of having a backup system in place. I do have my ferro rod there, but I also have a spare lighter. So I have redundancy built into my kit. There, it's started up. Now that fire gel cooker is actually sat on top of a mess tin, and because I'm only going to use boiling water, I've got my small boiling vessel on the go there now. Like I said, you have redundancy and secondary uses for items. It helps keep your kit down to a minimum, and on top of that, it gives you a secure knowledge if one bit of kit fails, another bit of kit can step up to allow you at least to operate in this environment. My food is actually individually wrapped in a second bag also, so that if any of the bags or contents were to spill, it wouldn't contaminate the compartment or anything else within the compartment of my Bergen. It's thinking ahead and planning, like I said, which can be the difference between having a pleasant experience or everything really totally falling apart on yourself. Also, always have a gash bag with you, and by that means the means to store your rubbish without contaminating any of your compartments or kit also. Now this porridge pouch will sit inside my cup there, and I can fill that with hot water, and the pouch will stop the contents contaminating my cup. Yet again, cutting down on cleaning. And the reason I'm cleaning there with a baby wipe is because I noticed a slug sitting inside my cup. Well, I'm doing that basically, as a safety precaution measure, quite simply to try and stop myself having any ill effects being out. I'm practicing what I will be doing on multi-day trails. And getting back to what I was talking about, food in that pouch, because it's in the pouch, I don't have any chances of contaminating my drinking cup, having leftover food particles there, which in turn can cause D&V. I'm thinking ahead. I'm trying to plan. I'm planning for a successful outcome. Right, I'm going to actually get my porridge on the go, and I'm tipping the water into the pouch, and the leftover water is going to be put into a miniature flask, so I have a cup of coffee, which I can drink now, and what's left over will be a hot drink out on the trail, so I don't have to stop and do a brew while I'm on the go. It just allows a little bit of forward thinking and allows me to keep going, get some miles under my feet before I actually have to stop and pull my cooker out. And it could be used as morale, like say after a difficult section, or you're starting to feel the effects of the weather. Just bring out your flask, have a hot drink, and it could be the difference between feeling miserable or just lifting your spirits a little bit more. I'm just stirring the porridge to get all that water to soak into it. And as you can see, the cup will stay clean. And this is why your shelter is the last thing you break down when you're getting ready to bug out of your location. Quite simply, I've still got somewhere to actually get out of the elements and enjoy my breakfast and my coffee. Your personal hygiene, on a quick note, does need to be tip-top when you're living for extended periods outdoors. Baby wipes are a fantastic modern item to help you achieve personal cleanliness. Always take the time to give yourself a wash in all your appropriate areas with baby wipes to stop infections and to help you maintain a clean body. Not only will you feel better, it will stop infections which could develop into situations which may hinder you out on the trail. Right, I'm fully breaking down camp, and I'm trying to get a little bit of organisation while I do it. A top tip here is always keep one solid ground peg attached to your tarp or tent so that it doesn't shoot off in a high wind and you then have to go chasing after it down over a hillside. Once I've removed that, I'm now stuffing it into its stuff sack. Because we're not tactical, this isn't a military environment, I'm actually putting it back in its actual stuff sack that it came from the manufacturer, and I will then put it back into the top pouch of my Bergen. It is situated in the very top pouch for one reason, that I can get my shelter up before anything else needs to be taken out of my Bergen. There is planning, and I am utilising everything within my Bergen, including the pouches and the layout, to how I will operate out in this environment. So my shelter will be the very first thing I go to grab or can get at, so that I can make camp quick, or if I've got to hunker down, I have a shelter to get into. Now, getting a fully laden Bergen up on your back is an art form, but there are many methods to do it. What you're going to witness is just my method. I suggest you look on YouTube to see all the other methods to get a Bergen on your back. If you do it wrong, or you don't have the strength in the method that you're going to do it, you can injure yourself, and injure yourself badly. So getting a Bergen on your back does require some practice and skill. So all that said and done, I'm testing and adjusting, I'm getting my waistband on, and I'm making sure it's fitting comfortable before I put my first foot on the trail. You have to be comfortable to carry the weight and the load. The trail itself will dictate the speed, pace and style of actually hiking. Sometimes you will be confined to literally following animal tracks. Other times there will be a clear defined route that you can take. But ultimately this will all come with practice, but it's always safe to say keep a little bit of distance between each other, so if one trips over and falls, you don't take out your partner or buddy. Unfortunately, there's a casualty on the moor. We did hear foxes that night, so I guess they were having a feast. But that shows how brutal Dartmoor can be, and it probably succumbed to the snow we've just had. Now, I have a new water purifying system by a reputable manufacturer, and I'm here actually going to give it a test. It will be its first outing in the wild, so to speak. Ultimately, if you're sourcing water, you don't want anything like what we've just seen, dead cattle nearby, or any animal, or even anything that looks like treatment works. But I'm moving so I can get some of the fast flowing water. I'm not trying to take it too close to the bank where the water isn't moving so fast, or silty, or where there's any foam or any eddies. I'm pushing it out to where the water's going between the rocks and it's fast flowing and clear. I suppose the crucial thing is not to actually touch the actual nozzle, isn't it? .6 litres. Probably have done with getting a full litre, I think. Did I go for it? Try. There's no aftertaste or nothing like that.
Peat, like peat taste.
Yeah, quite pleased with that. Yeah, I think I should have got the litre one actually. I was also trialling a new pair of boots and they worked out beautifully. No hot spots or blisters, so I'm well pleased with another piece of kit.
I got this when I first joined in 1995.
Still going.
Yeah, this is called a jack. This is a jack cup.
Oh, so it's only big enough for one.
No, what it is, it's jack because someone's making a brew. I've seen loads where people are like, any brew? You got a brew? Yeah, well, yeah. I've seen a few people like that.
Well, thanks for coming on an overnighter with me in Dartmoor while I test some kit and seeing how I go about thriving and operating in this outdoors environment. If you don't have the skill set, there is plenty of people that can offer advice and training to allow you to enjoy the outdoors. As always, take care, stay safe, and I hope to catch you guys out on the trail.